We came from radio. Well, Radio Disney, as a matter of fact. We started as I was a DJ already, and then Kara came along, and I kind of threw her on the radio with me. She was kind of saying, "Do you want me to answer phones or something?" And it's like, "Nah, grab a mic." And you know what? She turned out to be really freaking good at it too.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
I actually got to be the youngest. It was a station called Radio Disney Children's Radio, and it was run in a place called ABC Radio Networks, and I was the youngest person hired full-time by ABC Radio Networks at the time.
Wow.
That was 11 years ago, and I'm now 21.
I was 11 years old. I was like, what?
Huh?
You were young, you weren't that young.
That was a long time ago.
Wow.
So that's how we got started on Radio Disney, which we did a show called the Squeege and Kara Show for 5 years.
Yep, I was Kara.
And I was Squeege.
Yes.
And Kyle is an enormous anime fan.
Geek.
Oh, I wouldn't say geek. I'd say
I'm a geek.
lovable.
In a good way.
In a
good
nerdy way. Right.
Nerd. Yeah.
Yeah, so he's like totally been into anime forever. He watches the shows, and when we were on Radio Disney, I didn't understand anime. I didn't, know what it was about, and he would always talk about it. And if you don't understand anime, you do think it's a really geeky thing. Until you understand it, you realize that no, it's ultimately cool.
Yeah.
So I would make fun of him constantly. And one day he heard about an audition for one of his favorite shows called Dragon Ball Z. And it was an open call audition in Dallas, which is where we were. And they said, he came into the studio and said, there's this open call audition. And of course at Disney, we always were doing character voices and cartoon voices and tons of stuff like that. So he comes in and says, there's this open call audition, do you want to go? And, almost as like, it was almost like in a joking way. And I was, okay, yeah, whatever. And I showed up and ultimately got cast as his girlfriend and his brother.
We got him.
Now that is odd. Let me tell you right there. And of course we couldn't really advertise it on the radio.
Yeah.
You'd have a conflict of interest
Yeah.
sort of thing going on. So it's like we had this little secret thing going on.
Yeah, nobody knew that we were Squeege and Kara on the radio, and we were also Gohan, Goten, and Videl. So we couldn't discuss it, and as children started figuring it out, they would call and we'd be like, oh, what are you talking about? There's a show called Dragon Ball Z?
What is that?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was like our little secret for a long time until ultimately I left the show to move to North Carolina because I wanted to pursue radio. And I went on a morning show for 5 years in Charlotte, and only 9 months ago realized that the thing I missed the most was doing voices and cartoons and things like that. So I quit my radio job, and 9 months ago kind of got back into it, and that's how I got involved with Salty Ray. That was my delve back into anime, so please keep hiring me. I love doing it.
Now you also play more than one character in Dragon Ball Z. What all characters do you play?
I started out doing bit parts, which is what usually people typically start with, because it's a trial by fire thing. They want to see if you can match the mouth flaps and act and take direction and all that.
And show up on time.
And show up on time. Always a good thing. Promptness. Yes. After I did that, I had tried out for Teen Gohan. It was the very first thing I tried out for. 2 months later, they say, okay, you passed your trial by fire. We loved your Teen Gohan audition. You got Teen Gohan. About a month later, the narrator guy, Dale Kelly, left. And they said, okay, we need a narrator. We know you have a pretty wide range. So I said, oh, awesome, cool. Can I do my own, like a movie trailer thing? Like, no, you got to kind of voice match it. It's like, okay. But eventually, I kind of fell into my own style with that. And then I got Weskai and PyCon in the Other World Tournament. And then after that, I inherited Ox King from Chris Sabat, who, of course, if you know anything about the dub of Dragon Ball Z, he voices everything on that show. And they kind of, when they did the uncut versions and kind of redid everything, they kind of spread some of his other roles out to other people. So I got Ox King, that was fun. And the narrator and, and all that stuff. And of course, bit parts on all these things.
Yesterday, you all did a Dragon Ball Z panel where you all got to meet Takeshi Kasao.
Kasao-san. That was
Japanese trunks.
that was for me one of Dragon Ball Z. What people don't understand is when you voice a character for a very long period of time, they kind of become a part of you. And in an instant, it's kind of like a little piece of your family that when it's brought up, you love to talk about.
Yeah.
And since Dragon Ball Z, we stopped doing the shows, even though we still do the games, and it's probably what we'll always be most known for, we don't get a lot of opportunity to talk about, total geek out on Dragon Ball Z. And having Casas on here meant that we could totally go there. And when we got into this panel, the energy in the room, I mean, literally I was shaking from like head to toe. I was jumping up and down because the amount of energy, because we had true fans there that have been kind of, I think every one of us was kind of longing for a moment to just get back into something that we were all passionate about.
Yeah.
And, Kasao gave us the opportunity to do that. And, having the American Goten and the Japanese Trunks in the same room, you knew what was going to happen as we eventually got up and did the fusion.
Yeah.
Where we screamed out the fusion ha from the show together, and I'm not gonna lie, I got teared up. It was a really cool moment for me because that's what's great about Animazement is you have your Japanese counterparts, and they're kind of like, for us, it's like meeting Walt Disney. They're the originals. They're the people who draw these shows, who produce these shows, who voice these shows, and so much of what we do is based on what they did.
Yeah.
So for us, it's like meeting, the original, the person. Here's the Trunks and the Gotenks, and I'm just trying my best to, translate it to English. So it is ultimately cool for us.
Yeah, and Animazement is one of those rare cons where it's mostly Japanese guests and guests that you never see at any of the other cons. They come back here each year, and it's just a rare treat for the fans and, of course, ourselves.
Yes.
As Kara has been saying all through the weekend at panels and everything, these guys have really helped shape our careers.
Honestly, I don't think they're ever coming back because I've totally stalked them this whole trip. Every time I can see one, I'm like, you're so great, and I just love you, and thank you, and yeah.
And the Casal-san actually was very complimentary last night. We were up in the green room with all the guests and everything, and he came over and he paid me a compliment. It's like, oh my gosh, to have the Japanese actor come over and say something like that. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, and
So cool.
too, I don't know if everyone fully realizes that a lot of these actors and actresses in Japan are the top. You have the top female voice.
Yeah.
You have the voice of Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and the voice of Dora the Explorer, and the voice of everything sitting right there. And to have a conversation with somebody like that, and she and I were actually doing a little voice matching last night.
Oh, really?
You missed that, where we were sitting around and she would do like a child's voice and I would do like my version of how it was, and next thing you know, like it turns out we sound almost the exact same, and I just wanted it. I'm moving to Tokyo. No.
There you go. I learned Japanese first. It's kind of important.
Very important. What's your favorite DBZ episode?
There's two. The first one is, I believe it's called Videl Takes Flight. And it's an episode, there's 3 in a row where Videl is learning to fly and so is Goten. So you have both of my characters that are on 3 episodes in a row where they actually converse with each other for like most of the episodes.
Yeah.
And it's very memorable. I remember when recording, I think one of the episodes I would voice one whole character, and then I would go back and voice the other whole character. And then I started getting, I guess, a little cocky. And I'm like, just bring it on. And so I actually would go back and forth where I would do one line in Videl, one line in Goten, one line in Videl, one line in Goten, and would do it back and forth like that. And so it was kind of a cool moment for me. The second one that stands out for me is in the World Tournament when Videl fights Spopovich. There's a scene where he's just beating the crap out of her. And he gets her down on the ground and he's like stepping on her head and he's like crushing her. And when I was voicing it, it was a very long period of time where I had to sit there and go, for this very extended period of time. And towards the end, it was actually starting to hurt, like in my body, to keep making this sound. And as I look at and I'm watching the picture, and all of a sudden she starts to cry. And I think just being in the moment and everything, all of a sudden tears are coming out of my eyes, and I was actually crying at the end of the episode. And so when we finished, there was like this long moment of silence as we all kind of looked at each other and we're like, yeah, that was cool. That was cool.
Next. Please. For me, I can't really narrow it down to any one episode, but there is a moment, there's a big Gohan moment in the Otherworld tournament when Gohan turns Super Saiyan. And
Super Saiyan's always fun.
Always, but I mean, he like powers up, and the tiles on the tournament floor start levitating, and the eyes roll back in his head. And he looks totally evil.
You look like that about 4 o'clock this morning.
I know, yeah, exactly. And it's like, whoa, yeah, and I had to just scream my guts out, and it took a few times because if I scream, I have a lower register voice, right? But if I scream and try to go as high as I can because he's a teenager. My voice cracks and it's sounding really funny. I'm sure I have some really hysterical outtakes of the But after a few takes, I got a really solid scream, and that's what they used, and they added a little echo to it. So when I saw the final product, it's like, oh yeah, that's cool.
The Saiyan moments are always the funniest when recording because, especially like the first time you do it, and then when we go like Super Saiyan 3, like when Gotenks went Super Saiyan 3, and you have to really take it to this next level, and there's a moment where he looks in the mirror, and I don't remember what the scripted line was, but it was so funny that Sabat goes, say something goofy like, oh man, I rock, and I was like, okay, and so I did, and it made it into the show. It was supposed to be like a funny outtake, and it made it into the show, but I remember Sean Schimmel, the voice of Goku, had this great moment where the first time he went Super Saiyan, he was doing the and he was screaming, but all of a sudden, like, it was his first time seeing it, and he pops out and he looks like a rock star, and so he started going, and like did this whole rock star song, and they have the outtake of it somewhere, but it was so funny.
Yeah, that's a trend with a lot of anime companies and titles now, is you get to hear the bloopers and the outtakes. The Dragon Ball Z ones are classic, and we wish you guys could hear them because they're so funny.
Oh yeah, they recently released like new revamped DVDs of Dragon Ball Z, right?
Yeah, they're uncut, remastered in high def.
But none
and all
of those great outtakes.
Yeah,
those are lost forever.
Still aren't on there, unfortunately. But there are some golden ones, and sometimes we go to conventions and then we get asked about it, and Chris Sabat, for example, will kind of try to recreate them. Like Vegeta singing Mama Said Knock You Out.
That's the greatest moment ever.
Yeah, it's on YouTube.
Yeah,
so.
really? Check that one out. That is hilarious.
Yeah.
Hilarious. We could sit here and talk about this all day long. I just want you to know.
Yeah, because you deal with a show like Dragon Ball Z that, took a huge chunk of our life, and then suddenly it's over, but it's never really over. Just when you think you're out, they pull you back in. They call us like, hello, we're catching Kaiichi 3. Like, what were you thinking?
Yeah, really? We get so excited whenever it's a video game.
Yes.
A, because we make more money.
Yeah.
And
More
B,
money. More money.
And B, because it's just another excuse to do the voices all over again. So.
Yeah, because it's pretty much, beyond fan expectation going, there's going to be a new series, right? Like, no.
Yeah.
It's over.
Yeah.
Sorry. 500 plus episodes.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
It's a lot to do. Okay, what has been your best and worst fan experience?
I haven't had any bad per se.
That's
I've had
good.
odd ones.
Awkward.
A little awkward.
That'll work.
A little eccentric. I did a signing one time at a comic book store, and this young gentleman came up with a little tape recorder, and he hit record and play, and he goes, okay, I'm going to be Vegeta, and you be Team Gohan. Well, Captain Rock, I can't do this. And he holds it up to my mouth, and I go, okay, Vegeta? And I was like, what? And the guys who were running the comic book store after the signing were all cracking up about it. They were all talking. It's like, this guy was strange. We almost got security. It's like, did you want us to take him away? Like, no, it was okay. It was just a little strange.
I haven't had any. Everyone's ultimately cool and so respectful. That's what's always cool to me is they respect, space. And, they're so kind to ask for things. Can we take pictures? Can we? And that's really cool to me because, if it was me, I'd be like, click. But so that's really cool. But I guess my weirdest was probably through email. was a really great fan who decided he wanted to become a voice actor, which I always encourage. And I'm happy to answer 1,000 questions. And unfortunately, he asked about 1,000. And he kept going back to the same point as, I want to be in cartoons, I want to do animation, but I can't change my voice, what do I do? And I would tell him, I'm like, well, if you have a great sound without changing your voice, you know, there you go. Maybe you can find a character that your voice fits for. And then he'd email back and be like, but how do I change my voice? Well, so I kept trying to, finally I just said, this is the first time I've ever done this, but could you just not email me anymore? Like, I don't know what else to do. I'm lost. Like, I just didn't even know how to respond to any more questions, and I think this was like question 400, so that's the only one. That's the only time I had, and it definitely wasn't a bad experience, just kind of like awkward, where it was like, I can't answer this question anymore.
We get so many overwhelming positive experiences. You know, again, the fans are respectful. They go, "Can I hug you?" It's like, oh, of course. I think that's sweet. That's one of the biggest perks. I like giving hugs and getting hugs. And
see, we're fans too, so we get it. I mean, there's things that we're fans of that I want my picture taken with certain people, or I want autographs. I mean, I've done it this weekend, so you know, we get it, and we're flattered. We love those moments. So you know, people say, you know, I saw on a post recently on a message board that said something to the effect of, gosh, I'd give anything for an autograph from Kara Edwards, but there's no way I can get that close to her. And it was like, are you kidding? I'm right here. Come on up, you know, come meet me. I'd love to meet you. And I did a con once where afterwards somebody came to me, sent me an email, and they said, I just bought your autograph for $54. I got such a bargain. And I felt I was like, dude, I would have sent you an autograph. Like, just send me your address, and you know, I'll pay for the stamp. You know? I felt horrible that someone paid for it.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, we're very accessible. That's what you know, that's what's cool about being a voice actor, is you're never recognized. So if we're in a place that we're recognized, it's like, please, come talk to us. You know?
I've lost track, I lost count of how many fans. I'll just walk around the dealer's room or artist alley, and people, you're just walking around here? I thought I had to wait till the autograph session.
I can't believe it, and they'll back away from you like you're like they think, you know, oh, they must be going somewhere important or something, so they'll actually back away from you, and it's like, no, dude, I'm just here buying stuff like you are, you know? Yeah,
or I'll get emails after the fact, like this weekend, I'll probably get 4 or 5 emails going, I saw you at Animazement, but I was too shy to come say hi. It's like, why?
No.
What? We're regular people. We have very cool jobs, but we're just regular people like you know? We love this stuff.
Is there a show that you all have seen and were like, man, I wish I could have been on that show or been this character?
You always want to get whatever you audition for. As an actor, you know, you want to work. So anytime you don't get anything, you know, yeah, it's disappointing, but you just kind of move on and all that. So sure, every role I've tried out for, I wanted, of course.
I was going to say, pretty much any show with a female lead that I didn't get, wish I was.
Yeah, I mean, there's shows that I've never tried out for. I wish I were in Alucard in Helsing, or Vampire Hunter D, or somehow in Ghost in the Shell, or something like that. But
and this is totally like, you know, out of the realm, but I would give my left arm to be a Powerpuff Girl.
Really?
Yeah. I've gotten to do some promos and stuff imitating them, and I would give anything in the universe to actually be one of them, or to be one of those, you know, it's like a household name. You know, Dragon Ball Z was so cool, but there were still a few people that, you know, you could say Dragon Ball Z and they go, ah. And, you know, those shows that are like, you say it and everyone goes, yeah, those are the ones that, you know, you do kind of wish that you could get on a show like that.
Yeah, that's I tell everyone that's my holy grail, is to get onto a cartoon, the next big SpongeBob or something, something that is so recognizable in every house that every kid has to have a plushie of it or something. It's like,
that would be so cool.
Fantastic. But until then, you know, I'm just going to keep on doing what we're doing.
Yeah, I think I'm the voice of